Hi guys, welcome to Vesna TV, and today's episode we are creating 3 different Christmas themed DIYs. So for the first one, I'm going to be using this Tremclad flat white spray paint. It's just a spray paint I had on hand, and I'm going to be using this Christmas tree and a crate. Don't worry about this square. I will be using this as well, but I'm going to be using the crate for this DIY, as well as some foam blocks from the Dollar Tree and some red spray paint. I will also use some vinyl to cut out for my writing, and then that's all there is to this DIY. Actually, there'll be a little bit of a ribbon as well. So what I've done is I've spray painted the Christmas tree. I've written down the numbers on my little foam blocks using a paint pen, and I've cut out Christmas countdown using a child's font from DaFont, and I wanted it to look like a child had written down Christmas countdown, and I actually did Xmas countdown. I know some people really don't like that being used for Christmas, but for this I thought it would be really cute as a little child's countdown. So I just removed my vinyl, and I always use transfer paper for transferring the vinyl because when you have like a sign or anything like that, it tends to stretch quite a bit. So I apply that, and you have to be really careful because when you have little thin fonts, it wants to raise up. So just when you're pulling it off, just be careful. So this video is a part of the DIY collab that Domestic Diva hosts, and it's a great collab because there's a whole bunch of creators that come together and we create a playlist of different DIYs that we're doing. The theme for this month is Christmas. So if you haven't had a chance to check out this challenge, make sure you check it out. I'll have the playlist linked in my description, and I'll have Sonia over at Domestic Diva DIY. I'll have her information linked in my description below as well. Make sure you check her out. She is one super talented lady. Once I get my vinyl on there, I wanted to put a little bit of a bow up top, and I thought I'd put it kind of halfway down. Then I didn't like that, so I put it a little bit higher, and I still didn't like that. So then I took some ribbon and I just added like a bow to the top that kind of flowed down, and I really liked the way that turned out. And again, I just made a little bow, tying it kind of like you would a shoelace, and just hot glued it on. There was a little crack in the Christmas tree, so I was just adding some glue to fix it up. So after I added all of that, I just touched up some of the cubes because the paint had kind of ripped off when it was drying, and I put it in, and there's my countdown. I think it's really, really cute. What do you think? So for the DIY number 2, I am using these wood snowflakes, which I got at Dollar Tree, and they're just different sizes, and they're not sticky at the back. They're just little wood cutouts, and I'm spray painting them in that same Tremclad flat white spray paint. And I'm also using a bamboo cutting board, and this is another super easy one. All of these are really quick and easy DIYs. So I'm just going to be, once these snowflakes dry, I'm going to be creating a Christmas tree. So I just kind of try to figure out how I want the sizing to work and the pattern. This is totally personal preference, so kind of play around with it and see what you like. It all depends on what size your snowflakes are and which ones you wind up buying. The only tricky thing with this one is that I noticed that I wanted my board to be darker after I put this on, after I hot glued them on. So I went back and I stained it with the Rust-Oleum decorative glaze in Java. Now, before you hot glue your pieces down, kind of take a look at your board and see if you like it. And if you're going to write in words, so kind of the reason I wound up staining it darker is I didn't really like the way the words looked that I wrote down. You'll see what I mean a little bit later. So I kind of went back and tried to mute them and make them look kind of like they're faded. They were just a little bit too too dark and too rich. So kind of play around with that before you use a Sharpie. I should have done that before, and I knew, as like when I was writing with that Sharpie, I knew that I'm like, oh, I should have just made sure I liked it before I committed to a Sharpie, but live and learn. So that's kind of something that I would have done differently, but I still like the way it turned out. I did wind up using one more thing, the same ribbon that I used in the DIY before, and I covered the Merry Christmas. I didn't like the way I wrote it freehand, so I covered it up with that ribbon, and like I said, I went over top with decorative glaze and everything just to mute everything down. So I wrapped the ribbon over top a few times, and I wanted it to kind of look like it was kind of coming off. So I wanted like different levels to it, so that's what I did. So I just used a little bit of Dollar Tree sandpaper, and I just, like I said, sanded down the words a little bit, and then I applied the decorative glaze first with a paper towel, and then I kind of worked it in, and then I used a brush to get it in between. I did get it a little bit on the snowflakes, so I used a baby wipe to remove it. That's why I said it's easier if you do all of these things before you attach your Christmas tree, like your little snowflakes, but I think it turned out really cute regardless, and here is the finished piece. Let me know what you think. So again, another super DIY for number 3. I'm using, again, this spray paint, and I'm using this square plank, and it's from the Dollar Tree, to create my DIY. And I only need one coat of this. And then I'm also using these trucks from the Dollar Tree. They're ornament trucks. I'm not using these Christmas lights. My son just put them in my hand, gave them to me, so I put them on the table, so you might see his little hands grabbing them over here. But I remove the ornament, and I remove all the little hooks off of the ornament, and then I hot glue it to the bottom of the truck, leaving a little bit of space because I will also be using that same ribbon. So basically I used one roll of that ribbon for the entire, like for all 3 DIYs. So it went a long way, and then I used a little bit of a different kind of ribbon for the bow on this as well. And again, like I said, this is a super easy one, and I had a snowflake left over. You can see it in the corner there from the first DIY, so I put that on here as well. And then I distress it with that Rust-Oleum decorative glaze to give it more of a rustic look. And that's basically all there is to it. I do, like I said, wrap at the bottom some of that ribbon and at the top, and then I do like a little bow just using little strips of ribbon. And then I add a little bell, which is from a bell garland from the Dollar Tree that I had left over actually from last year. So after I get everything glued on, I use a pencil this time. I'm a little bit smarter than I was with the previous DIY, and I write in the words Christmas trees, and I put a little arrow. I'm using a red Sharpie to go over top of the Christmas trees wording, and then I'm using a black Sharpie for the arrow. And that's all there's to this one. Another super easy one. These can be tray decor pieces. These can be little accents in your vignettes. It can be anything. They're just cute little Dollar Tree DIYs that are super fun and super easy to make. And I think they turned out great. Look at this guy. Look how cute he is. Let me know which one is your favorite. If you have not subscribed, make sure you hit the big subscribe button, hit the like button. I also have a coffee page, so if you wanted to buy me a coffee, please go ahead and do that. That's linked in my description below. Check out the playlist, check out Domestic Diva, and we'll see you next week for a Trash to Treasure Christmas DIY episode. Thanks for stopping by. Have a great day and stay safe.